Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to another reading vlog. In this vlog, we are going to be reading 3 backlist thrillers that I have not read yet. Shockingly, have not read yet. These are very popular thrillers, and let's be real, there are just so many books in the world that how is one supposed to read them all? And especially backlist, I definitely get tunnel vision, and I'm sure some of you are the same, get tunnel vision with new releases. But it's time to rectify that, okay? Because these are very popular. I have had them on my TBR for a very long time, and in this vlog we are finally going to get to them. So let's just go ahead and go over the books. The first one that I'm going to be reading, and actually already started, is The Kind Worth Killing It by Peter Swanson. Now, Peter Swanson and I feel like with a lot of people, he gives off the same vibe as Ruth Ware. A lot of people don't enjoy a lot of their books, but at the same time, there are a few winners in there, and I have heard that this is the winner. I have read 9 Lives from him. I did not enjoy it. It really put me off from him for a while, but I'm finally ready to give him a second chance. So we are going to be reading The Kind Worth Killing It, and all I know about this one is that we are following a husband who wants to kill his wife, and he meets someone at an airport and they set up a plan. That's honestly all I know. I feel like I say this in every single video, but y'all know me, and if you don't, I do not like to know the synopsis of things going into it. If I have vague details, that's the best, but I don't want to know any more than that. I will not read the back. I just gather information from things that I've heard. Anyway, so we have The Kind Worth Killing, and then we have Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This one I am nervous to go into because I have heard that it gets very dark and very gruesome, and not in a horrific fun kind of way, in a very real life abuse kind of way. So I am a little bit more nervous about this one, but I have heard that it is incredible, that it really packs a punch, and I just need to know, okay? I just need to know. I know this is a lot of people's favorite Karen Slaughter, so it's time, and again, all I know about this one is that we are following 2 sisters who haven't spoke in an astronomical amount of time since their other sister went missing, and there's secrets between them. I could be way off, but that's kind of what I've gathered from hearing people talk about it and trying to tune it out because I don't want to know too much. So yeah, we have Pretty Girls. And then the last one that we have is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is the one that I'm most excited for. I have heard nothing but incredible things about this book and Taylor Adams writing in general. I'm actually going to be reading another Taylor Adams this month. His new release, The Last Word, but that's a new release, and this is about backlist books, so we're going to be reading No Exit. And all I know about this one is that we have a woman who is on a road trip or something, and she ends up at a rest stop, and she notices a little girl or boy in a van, me with my vague details, a child in a van asking for help or something along those lines, and this all takes place in the span of a few hours, I believe. I could be way off, but I don't care. I'm so excited for this. I have the audiobooks for all of these as well, so I will be listening as well as reading. That is my favorite way to experience books, but especially thrillers. And yeah, so these are the 3 that we are going to be reading this week. I am so excited. And if there are any other backlist thrillers that you think that I should get to that I haven't yet, please leave them in the comments, because there could definitely be a part 2 or 3 to this, because like I said, there are so many books in the world. Anyways, I think that's it. Let's just go ahead and dive into the vlog. Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. And whenever I say Swanson, it always makes me think of that scene in Dumb and Dumber where he's trying to remember what her last name is, where he's like, Samson, Swanson, Samsonite. Like, I cannot. It's ingrained in my brain. Anyways, Peter Swanson. And I have thoughts, and I took some notes because I couldn't tab this, obviously, because it's a library book. But oh my goodness gracious, what a whirlwind, huh? What a whirlwind. Okay, I don't even know what I'm going to rate this yet. I feel like I need to talk it out with you first because I don't know. Okay, let's start off with, it starts off with like a bang, okay? Like, we just go from 0 to 100 within the first chapter, and like, I'm here for it. Loved that about it. I also love that we get multiple point of views in here because I just feel like that keeps thrillers interesting. Sometimes I find thrillers can be a little bit more drawn out, or at least they feel more drawn out when it's just one person. So I love that we get multiple point of views in here, and also on the audiobook we got multiple narrators, which I just love. It makes the audiobook experience that much better. So we got multiple narrators, multiple point of views, which I am so here for. I also love, which I did not know this, but I love that it takes place in Boston, in the New England area. We had Boston, we had Maine, we had Connecticut, and like, if you didn't know, I live in Massachusetts, like just south of Boston, so that's amazing. I love it. I loved all of the like landmarks when they were talking about the highways. Like, I knew exactly where they were talking about. So I just love that. It makes me like submerge myself that much more into the story when you like know the surroundings very well. I mean, some of the places were definitely made up, but some of them were real. The highways, like, legit, and I love it. However, I do think it's a little strange that like in the audiobook, no one had a Boston accent until like the last 50 pages. And then all of a sudden, this detective that we get his point of view, he had a Boston accent, but like he didn't have a Boston accent before. So all of a sudden, like when you first start hearing him, you're like, okay, whatever. And then like a few chapters into his point of view, he all of a sudden dropped his R's and like had a Boston accent. And I was like, what is going on right now? Like, okay. Someone like had recorded one part and they were like, can you do this a little bit more with a Boston accent? And then he came back to do the other part and like had an accent. Like, that's what I picture in my head. It was just so, like, almost jarring and just very strange. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, maybe they're not, like, from there. But, like, they went to school in the area, so I'm pretty sure they're from there. So it was just weird that none of them had Boston accent. I'm, like, actually really grateful that the narrators didn't try to do that because, let me tell you, when it switched to him having a Boston accent, it was extremely jarring, and like I couldn't listen to a whole audiobook like that. So I'm actually hella grateful that that didn't happen. I just thought it was a little bit strange. And then the other thing that I really liked about this is like every chapter leaves you basically on a cliffhanger, which like just keeps you wanting to keep reading, like go back for more. You're like, I cannot put this down. And that's what I found with this. It's a book that you literally cannot put down. Like, you just have to keep going, and I think that's partly because the chapters end, or most of the chapters end on a cliffhanger, and like I love that. It just keeps you wanting more. It keeps you wanting more, and you're like, oh, I have to know what happens next. But then the next one leaves you on a cliffhanger, and you're like, well, I just have to know what happens next. So I just really enjoyed that. I love when thrillers do that. I do think it can be a little bit overdone, but I think that Peter Swanson did a great job with that. Like, okay, that's kind of where my enjoyment of this story ends. Like, don't get me wrong, I really liked the plot, and if you don't know what this book is about, and I probably should have said this at the beginning, hi, I'm a booktuber. We are following Ted and Lily, and they meet at an airport. I'm gonna keep this very vague because I know a lot of you don't like to know too much going into thrillers too. We have Ted and Lily, they meet at an airport, they get to talking, and they come up with this scheme to kill his wife because his wife is cheating on him. That's where I'm gonna leave it. Oh my god, there are, like, every single character in this book is unhinged. Like, unhinged, batshit crazy. And I don't mean, like, in the mental health sort of way. I just mean in the, like, completely unhinged, off their rocker, no one is thinking straight kind of way, which makes this kind of fun because every single person in here is unreliable and, like, you can't really relate to anyone. You can't put yourself in anyone's shoes because they're all a little crazy. So, like, you just have to go along for the ride. So that was, like, equally enjoyable and also not enjoyable at the same time because I do like character-driven books. However, I do love an unhinged thriller too. But, like, every single one of them, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and they all keep making the worst decisions possible. It is truly, like, you cannot look away, but you want to so bad. And it just is, it's a lot. And Lily reminds me of Scarlett Clark from They Never Learn, but, like, in the worst way. Like, I love Scarlett Clark. Okay, I shouldn't say I love her because whoa. But, like, if you've read that book, you know that she is a woman on a mission. She takes it upon herself to, like, eliminate men who have done wrong. So Lily reminds me of her in that sense, but, like, in a totally unhinged, like, not thinking clearly, completely delusional thought process. And, like, I was just, like, my head was spinning the whole time that I was reading this book. As far as plot twist goes, I saw the first one coming. There were two at the end that I didn't necessarily see coming, but I wasn't overly shocked by them. I didn't, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Like, it was predictable, but not in the sense of, like, I was predicting it was gonna happen. It just, like, oh, that makes sense once it happens. Does that make sense? So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, did I have a good time while I was reading it? Yes and no at the same time. Like, I enjoyed the cliffhangers and all the stuff that I mentioned, but I also, like, didn't enjoy any of the characters, which also kind of made it fun. I didn't really enjoy... I can't say I didn't enjoy the plot because the plot was good, but it just is, like, completely unhinged, and I do not know. I do not know what I want to rate this. My gut right now says that it kind of has to be a 4 for, like, my enjoyment, how much I binged it, and whatever. But also, can I just say that Peter Swanson, the man loves sex, and, like, I was not expecting that in this book. Also, the description of women in this book, and, like, talk of masturbation and that kind of thing, I was like, what is going on, Peter? Why? You trying to be, like, cool or risky with your writing? Like, I do not understand. I don't feel like it needed a place in this book. I feel like he had a really good concept without it, but he was just trying to make it, like, edgy. Maybe? I don't know. I felt like it was complete, like, I'm not a prude, but I just felt like it was kind of uncalled for. And yeah, just the way he, like, describes women, and there was just so many, like, sex and personal pleasure moments in this book that I just was not expecting, and I don't know. So that kind of, like, took me out of the story, so I don't know if it's a 4, maybe it's a 3, maybe it's a 3.5. You see where my mind is. It's no less than a 3, for sure. I just like, does it really matter? No, not really. So those are my thoughts. Maybe I will, in the end outro of this, have some clear thoughts of like what my rating actually is. I just feel like I need to think on it a little bit more. So up next is Pretty Girls, which I'm equally very scared for and also very excited. So I'll get back to you when I have some initial thoughts on that. Hello, it is Saturday morning, almost afternoon at this point. It has now just turned into a rainy Saturday. It was just kind of like cloudy this morning, but now it is chucking it, which we love. I love a rainy weekend because really all my plans are this weekend are to clean a little bit and read this. And I am 150 pages into this book. I think I was a little naive of how horrific and gruesome this book is. I was not prepared. Despite what I had heard about it, I was like, oh, it's probably not going to be like that bad. Like, I listen to true crime. I watch all of the crime shows. Like, that's my thing. Yeah, this is a lot. Even for me. This is like giving, if you've ever listened to the podcast Root of Evil and how horrible and horrific and detailed that podcast is, and like don't go into it without looking up trigger warnings. And like same thing with this book. It's like the same level of disgusting and gruesome, and I am so uncomfortable. Despite that, I don't want to say enjoying the story, but I'm intrigued enough to keep going. It's too much. Like, I could DNF and I would be fine, but I'm interested to see where it goes. So I'm not going to, but like, that's how uncomfortable I am. That like, I would be fine DNFing it and being like, that's too much. I don't need that in my life. But like, I'm also intrigued on where this goes because in this book we are following two sisters who've been estranged for like 20 some odd years. One of them, like right at the beginning, this book goes off like literally with a punch. One of their husbands dies, and so it kind of brings them back together, but like not in a way that you were expecting. And this is all in the synopsis, so no spoilers. And it brings them back in a way that you're not really expecting, and all of like these secrets and stuff that they've kind of suppressed about their lives kind of come to the surface, and they're just kind of exploring it while also kind of keeping secrets from each other at the same time. And then there's also this element of missing girls as well. Like, their sister went missing like 20 years ago, and it's kind of like, that's not why they stopped talking, but it really does explore what happens to family after tragedy strikes. Like, it can either bring people really close together or really like make people drift apart from each other and like grow apart, and that's what happened in this family. So we're also exploring like the missing sister element, and there's been other missing girls over the years, so we're uncovering that. So like I said, I'm interested to see where it goes and like how it's all going to tie together. I just know it's going to be in the most brutal way. So I'm having to take this in like small doses. I mean, I read the first 100 pages like really quickly. There are some really long chapters. That's one thing that like I'm not liking about it. I hate me long chapters. I hate them. But I can get over it. I'm also listening to the audiobook, and I like the audiobook so far. I don't know if it's better or worse to hear what's going on in this book, but like, it's helping, I think. I was listening to it on my walk this morning, and now I'm like, I need to have something light and fluffy in my life. Maybe watch some YouTube before I pick this back up again this afternoon, because it's just too much. But anyways, I just wanted to give you my initial thoughts. It's horrible. All the trigger warnings, like literally every single one. Like everyone that you could imagine. Just look them up. Look them up. And if you think that you can tolerate it, just know it's gonna be worse than you're expecting. It's gonna be so much worse. I did did this like cute bubble pony today, but this like part keeps like tickling my neck. Keep thinking it's a bug or something, but like it's cute. I like a bubble pony. I'm just trying to find ways. I'm trying to like grow out my hair a bit and like have healthier hair. It's a whole thing. But I'm trying to find ways that I can like wear it in the summertime that it's like off my neck and like away from my face, because I'm not about that. But that's not just like a normal ponytail or like a messy bun, because, you know, whatever. I've never been good at like doing hair, but like we're just trying new things. And like obviously this is the easiest freaking thing in the entire world, so like whatever. But it still looks cute too. It's also really good for working out. That's besides the point. I came on to talk to you about this book because I have finished this book, and fuck this book. Really though? Okay, the writing, great. You know what? Beautiful writing. The way this is told, you cannot help but like feel everything, like every emotion. Feel it physically almost too, but also just feel every emotion on the spectrum. Like you are there with these sisters and what is happening to them, but that is also the worst freaking part about this book, and it is so horrific. Like, I can't recommend this book. I'm also not rating this book, because how do you rate something like this where it is so horrible and horrific? Like, things from your worst nightmares happen to these women, and I just like don't feel comfortable putting a rating on that, even though it is fictional. No, I can't do it. I can't say that I enjoyed this and like I'm gonna give it 4 stars because I really enjoyed it. Absolutely fucking not. Did I enjoy my time reading this? Absolutely not. No. No. At no point of this where I was like, this is great. No. Like I said, the plot was good. It's very descriptive and you feel like you're there and like I get it, but no. Absolutely not. This book will not be getting a rating from me, not because it's bad. It's not. It's just I do not feel comfortable rating the level of like disgust and everything that just happened in this book. It's the same thing with Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, which is actually based on a true story, which is even like, I'm sure this has also happened to so many women too, which is equally as horrific, but like that book is actually about a specific case and story. But like it's the same level of gruesome, and I was so physically uncomfortable while reading that book too, that like I'm not here for this kind of thriller anymore. I'm not. I can't do it, okay? There's just like somewhere where you have to draw the line, and like I'm all for things being horrible. I'm all for horror. I'm all like, but when it's something that could so, I don't want to say so easily, but like that happens to so many people, it's a lot. And like, I don't want to read about it. And also it just brings into the question too of like, true crime and that kind of thing, and like people listening to like horrific things on podcasts. I find true crime podcasts dulled down a lot compared to the level of description and disgust in this book. So like, and again, I'm not saying it's bad, okay? I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying like, you know, and you hear from like real life stories and like what they go through and like whatever, but I also feel like there's a level of blanket that happens on podcasts where they don't always necessarily, I know some do, but like they don't always give you the nitty gritty deep dive details. Like the one that I can compare this to is like, if you've ever listened to Root of Evil, like that goes into heavy descriptions and it's disgusting. It's one of the hardest podcasts to listen to, but like I feel like a lot of others, again, not everyone, because like all true crime, obviously it's happened, it's horrible, it's horrific knowing that that has happened to real people, but like I feel like there is a level of like blanket that goes on in some of them where you're like, listen and stomach it while also knowing that it's a true story and like feel those kinds of emotions, where this was so descriptive and like it just kept going and going and going, and like I don't think this kind of book is for me anymore. I really don't. I really don't. I think I'm done with this kind of thriller. That doesn't mean that I would like not read a memoir or autobiography or something like that where someone did go through something horrific, or like I said, listening to true crime. I think just knowing that it has happened to someone in real life or whatever, but also someone choosing to write this, and it's fictional. And maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong about that, I did not see anything in the acknowledgements about this being like real. But if I'm wrong about that and she's done interviews or whatever, please correct me. Where it's fictional, like I just want to know like what was she processing when she wrote this? Because wow. Okay, I'm done talking about it. I just don't think that kind of book is for me anymore. That level of detail and description, no, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. So we're moving on. We're going to move on to No Exit by Taylor Adams, which I am really excited for. I have heard nothing but incredible things about this book, and I love books that take place in like one night, and you're like counting down or counting up to like the event and things happening, and that's what I've heard about this book, so I'm very excited about that. I do have the audio checked out as well. I am gonna go for a walk later, so I'll probably start it on my walk and then continue reading throughout the day. I will update you on No Exit when I have some thoughts. This book is binge-worthy. I don't know what else to say. Holy moly, I have less than 100 pages left in this book. It is binge-worthy. I started yesterday on my walk, like yesterday afternoon. I went on a walk at like 4 p.m. So started at 4 p.m. Already it is the next morning and I have less than 100 pages left. It's so good. So in this book we are following Darby, and Darby is going home for Christmas, so this is definitely a good like winter read. Is it the time to be reading it? No, but like I'm still enjoying my time. Anyways, Darby's going home for Christmas, and then she is driving. It is snowy AF outside, and her windshield wiper breaks, and so she has to pull into this rest area. And when she gets there, like it starts coming down, and she knows that like she's not going anywhere for a while. And at this rest stop, there are some characters also there as well, some people that maybe she's picking up some vibes from that like aren't necessarily the greatest, but like what's she gonna do? She's stranded. And then she goes out to her car to get something and notices in the van that's parked next to her a little hand pop up, and she notices a little girl in a kennel in the back of the van. That's all I'm going to say. This book is binge worthy. It is exactly what I love in a thriller. Like I said, I love thrillers that take place in like a 24-hour or one night kind of situation. I just feel like it adds to the anxiety. And I also love a thriller that like kind of counts down the time, and that's exactly what's happening. Each chapter is like the time's moving forward, so we'll have like 1:09 a.m., 2:30 a.m., and we're like getting closer counting down, will you say, to like whatever is going to happen and however this is going to pan out. And oh my gosh, like I love it also because everyone is obviously a suspect. They're all strangers to her. She knows nothing about any of them. She figures out who each car belongs to, but then, you know, obviously, like, who is she gonna trust? She can't really trust anyone, so she has to rely on her own instincts, and I also love that. There are two things that I know are going to prevent me from giving this 5 stars. I still have the ending, so obviously that could alter my opinion. But these two things, they really just like rub me the wrong way. So I know that I can't give it a full 5 stars already because of these things. The first one being that one of the main people that she finds really creepy in this, and like the one that she like dials into and is like, oh, you're responsible, he has a stutter. And like, that is such a stereotypical move to make, and I hate it because what is creepy about a stutter? Like, why? Why does he have to have a stutter? I don't understand. There's nothing creepy about that. That's just a normal problem to have. It's not even a problem. It's just a normal disability to have, and like, I wouldn't even go to say it's a disability, but like, you know what I'm saying? So like, why? And Taylor Adams is not the only one to do this, obviously. We see this time and time again, but it's something that really annoys me because why? Like, there is nothing creepy about that. So why do we have to make it this creepy thing? Like, it rubs me the wrong way. I hate it. It's so stereotypical, and I do not agree whatsoever. The also other major thing that like really rubbed me the wrong way is that the N-word is used in this book. And like, I have not heard anybody else say anything about that, so I was totally caught off guard. I was not expecting it. It's only happened once, and it was during like a memory that one of the people was having. It's not okay by any means, even in a memory, to use that word. Taylor Adams is a white guy, okay? He's a white dude with glasses, all right? Like, nowhere should that appear in this book whatsoever. It's disgusting. I don't care how it was used, should not be here. I do not understand why. Like, why was that necessary? It wasn't even necessary for the story. Like, in that specific memory, he definitely could have written it without using that word. But for some reason, he had to put it in there, and like, no, absolutely not. Not okay. I was appalled. So, yeah, I can't give it a full 5 stars because of those two things. So annoying. So annoying. The only other thing that I will say that's like not an issue, but it's like a little bit of an issue, is that this physical copy, which is from 2019, is actually a little bit different than the audiobook. So I was reading in tandem last night. I obviously didn't notice it when I was on my walk, but as I was reading along with the physical copy last night, I was noticing that some of the sentences were different, and like, weirdly the route, like the highway that they're on, is different in the audiobook, and here I believe it's Route 6, and in the audiobook it's Route 7, or opposite, but like still it's just different. And there's some of the sentences and like whatever that are a tiny bit different, like you can tell words have been changed or whatever. Still didn't change using the N-word for some god-awful reason. Also, that audiobook narrator must have been so pissed. Or I hope that they were. But anyways, it is just a tiny bit different. And there was a whole part where it was explaining like how that little girl got into the situation, and it was different in the book than it was in the audiobook. So I was listening and I was like, well, this is a little bit different. So I had to pause it, read what was actually in the book. So basically I have 2 explanations. It's very strange. Very strange. So I would say pick one or the other. Don't read in tandem because it is a little bit confusing as you are reading. Like I said, sometimes it's just one word that's changed, but other times it's like full-on sentences that are either added or just manipulated in a different way, and it's just very weird. But other than those things, I am really enjoying it, and I cannot wait to see how it ends. So like I said, those things, they're not things that I can just like glaze over. I have to be critical of them because I just find them so disgusting. So I can't overlook them, but if those things weren't in here, I could very easily see this being a 5-star, but they are, so I have to attach that to my rating. So we'll see what happens in these last like 100 pages. I do plan on finishing it today. I haven't gone for my walk yet today, so I'll probably listen on my walk and then when I get back, finish it up. So yeah, I think I only have like a little over an hour left on the actual audiobook. Yeah, an hour and 25 minutes, so easily should be able to finish this today, and I will be back with final thoughts. Hello, it is the next day. I have a coffee. I have been watching The Parent Trap this morning while I work because I don't know why, I just felt like a really nostalgic kind of mood, and I was like, what can I watch? I feel in the mood to watch something from like my childhood, so I decided to throw on The Parent Trap. It's been a fabulous morning so far. I also went on a walk this morning, did workout, did all the things, and also got a bunch of work done for my client. And I wanted to update you that I have finished No Exit. I finished this last night, and I feel like this vlog is like filled with books that I do not know how to rate initially. This one, I want to give it 4 stars. I just don't know if that's being generous because of the problematic things in it. But it also doesn't feel like a 3-star book to me, you know? Like it read so fast. I was highly engaged the entire time. I love the plot. I love that we have this countdown and this like looming anxiety. The ending, it definitely felt a little bit repetitive. Like at one, I felt like you're just like watching like a thriller / horror movie where you're just like, oh, come on, like, are you serious? Like, you just want this one person, like, you just need something to happen to this one person, and it's like, oh, it just almost happens, and then something else happens where they have to change plans or whatever, and you're just like, seriously, like, does this person have 9 lives? Like, it's just ridiculous. So I really enjoyed that on it, but in the last 100 pages, Taylor Adams, for some reason, again, made a choice that he didn't have to, and he used the R word. I'm not even going to say it because that's how disgusted I was. The R word, meaning the old slang term for what people used to call people with special needs or disabilities. You know what I'm saying? Used it just like freely. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So that is the third problematic thing that happens in this book, and I was like, oh, do I give it like any sort of grace because this was written so long ago? But like, it wasn't written that long ago. What did I say? This was 2019? Like, come on. You're way past the derogatory terms that you're using in this book, and also like the stereotypes that you're using in this book. So it's making me angry. So I'm like, can I justify a 4-star on a book that is making me this mad? But at the same time, those things aside, which like I'm not overlooking them, clearly, you see, I can't stop talking about it, but those things aside, I did enjoy the rest of the book and the plot. So I just feel, I don't know. So I guess somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4 is where my rating is going to land. Again, do ratings really matter? No. You hear the things that I'm enjoying and the things that I find problematic or that I'm not enjoying. So like, that's what this is for. A rating really doesn't mean anything, but I just like to put a number on it so you guys kind of know like where I'm at, and also compared to like other books. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna land with that. I'm gonna land somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. If it was just plot alone and these problematic things didn't happen, I definitely would have given it a 5. But then those problematic things started happening, and I'm like, okay, I'll knock off a star. But then it just happened again, and I'm like, do I knock off another half a star because of that? Or like, is that just going a little bit too far? So I don't know. Again, it doesn't really matter. I'm really happy I read it. I enjoyed my time. I'm really happy that I read these other thrillers as well, because they have all been on my TBR for so long. So I'm so happy to have gotten to them, to have gotten them off my TBR shelf, and now we can just move on to the trillions of other backlist books that I have amongst my TBR. And that is it for my vlog of reading backlist thrillers. We definitely had an interesting week of reads. We ended up with a 4-ish star, a 4-star, and one that I just absolutely cannot rate for good reason. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you have any other backlist thriller suggestions, like if you want a part 2 of this vlog and you have some backlist thrillers that you think that I will love based on this video and my reading taste in general, please comment them below. Also, I would love to know your thoughts on these books as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you are not already. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
With you and I, the future